Hello, and welcome once again to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. By the way, that particular verse is found in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. Today, we want to welcome you here, as I said, to Friday Focus, where we're going to be answering the question, is God trustworthy? From Psalm 48. When I was a youngster in Sunday school, we sang a chorus that was straight out of Psalm 48, verses 1 and 2. Maybe you know it. It says, "Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great King." And then we would repeat, "Is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great King." It's estimated that Psalm 48 was written about 515 BC, sometime during Ezra's leadership. And according to the Psalm's introduction, it was a song, and believed by some to have been written and sung by the Levites at the dedication of the Second Temple. Let's talk a minute about this great king that we find in verses 1 through 3. The writer of this song begins with an interjection. It's an interjection. It's kind of like saying, wow. And so the author's interjection is, "Great is the Lord." It's something Old Testament writers love to share. For example, in Job chapter 33, verse 12, "For the Lord is greater than any human being." And then in Psalm 95, verse 3, "For the Lord is a great God, a great King above all gods." And then again in Psalm 145, verse 3, "Great is the Lord. He is most worthy of praise. No one can measure his greatness." The late 19th century preacher, Charles Spurgeon, wrote this: "How great Jehovah is, essentially none can conceive. But we all can see that he is great in the deliverance of his people. Great is their esteem who are delivered, and great in the hearts of those enemies whom he scatters by their own fears. Instead of the mad cry of Ephesus, 'Great is Diana,' we hear the reasonable, demonstrable, self-evident testimony, 'Great is Jehovah.'" And then that psalm talks about the great city. So let's look at that, verses 4 through 8. Psalm 48 continues, stating that a great God is to be praised greatly. He connects this great God and great praise with what he believes to be a great place. That is God's city. And he says in the last half of verse 1, "In the city of our God and the mountain of his holiness." In verse 2, the writer refers to this place as the city of the great King. Since the author was involved in temple worship, it's reasonable, I think, to assume that he was thinking of Jerusalem as the city. There may be more beautiful cities in breathtaking locations, but from the writer's perspective, there is only one city of the great King, the King of Kings. And of course, we think that's Jerusalem. Those who came against the city saw it. They marveled. They were troubled. They hastened away. And that's also found in verses 4 and 5. James Boyce says, in Hebrew, the words are similar to the well-known report of Julius Caesar about his victories in Gaul. Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Only here, in this psalm, the kings did not conquer. They fled from the city in terror. The verbs literally say they saw, Jerusalem is implied, they were dumbfounded, they were overwhelmed, they fled in panic. The fast pace of the language captures the confusion and fearful flight. Let's take a little look then at verses 9 through 11, which is the great covenant. So we have a great God, we have a great city, and now a great covenant. In verse 9, "O God, we meditate on your unfailing love as we worship in your temple." The psalmist meditates on the covenant made by God with his people, a covenant of love. To the author of the temple, his place of ministry, his worship, was that place which testified to God's covenant of love to his people. Today, there's another testament to God's love for us. It's Jesus Christ. As it's written in John chapter 3:16 and verse 17. It's a very familiar portion of Scripture, and I think we all know it. We speak of many things to many people, but do we mention God's unconditional love? So, what are we looking at? Well, we had a great God, we had a great city, we have a great covenant, and then there's the great faithfulness found in verses 12 through 14. Within the covenant of love is found a great faithfulness, every bit as great as God, whose character insists that he always be found faithful. Notice verses 12 through 14. Go inspect the city of Jerusalem. Walk around and count the many towers. Take note of the fortified walls and tour all the citadels that you may describe them to future generations. For that is what God is like. He is our God forever and ever, and he will guide us until we die. There it is. The writer uses the city as an illustration. He asks the listener of the song, including us readers, to take a city tour. And then he tells them to walk around, count the towers, note the fortified walls, tour the citadels. In other words, strength, firmness, steadfastness. The people were called upon to note the city's defenses, its strengths, everything about it that spoke of power, strength, stability, steadfastness. Then he uses it all as a teaching moment for the listener, saying, for that is what God is like. Have you ever thought of him like that? That there is power, strength, stability, steadfastness. He goes on. He is our God forever and ever. Hey, that is his promise to you. If you are feeling defeated, if you're feeling down in the dumps, if you're wondering if God has abandoned you, if you think he's turned his face away from you, if there's distance between you and God, you need to know that he is your God forever and ever. And he will guide you until you die. That's verse 14. In the last verse, the city fades from view like a scene in a movie. God alone is revealed. All these marks of Jerusalem's glory and strength, everything that makes the city great, and everything in it comes from God. It's an illustration of God's great faithfulness to us and needs to be told to all generations. It's this God who made the city of Jerusalem what it was. And he's our God forever and ever. It is this God who makes us what we are. He is our guide even to death and beyond. The phrase forever and ever is one that, well, we can't use it when it comes to other things. However, we can use it when it concerns God. Again, Charles Spurgeon writes, the landlord cannot say of his fields, these are mine forever and ever. The king cannot say of his crown, this is mine forever and ever. These possessions will soon change masters. These possessors shall soon mingle with the dust, and even the graves they shall occupy may not long be theirs. So, long after death has claimed us, we will say with certainty that God is as he claimed in Malachi chapter 3, verse 6, saying, I am the Lord and I do not change. He is our God forever and ever. So, to answer the question in today's title, is God trustworthy? Yes, God is trustworthy. This is Dr. Vic Hawley, friend, in his grace. If you have any comments or questions, you can address them to me at vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. That's vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Have a tremendous week. Know that he is your God forever and ever.